Hi there, I'm Marcus Ljungberg. I'm a DP working mainly between Sweden and the UK. Mainly my work is narrative and commercial. I find myself almost always leaning towards a kind of heightened realistic lighting. I want the lighting to do two things. I wanted to set the mood and I wanted to create depth. In this video, I will be talking about RGB LED lights, specifically COB lights, chip-on-board lights like the 900C from Nanlux right here. So the most common scenarios where I will use a 900C is in general scenes with mixed lighting, urban night exteriors, anything that has got theatrical effects, animate colors, bold colors, that kind of stuff. Also, I really enjoy it for moonlight. It's also really handy for, just RGB effects. In places like, warehouses, offices, shopping malls, I'm likely to bump into colors that have a tint to it. And even if I might enjoy the look of that in a scene, I want to be able to create white light if I need to. And with plus minus green in the light, I can just make the light match that house light. And I've seen countless scenarios where I'm shooting in an office building or a space with big windows, and you turn the light on, and what should be a white light just reads like magenta. Why? It's because the window can give a green tint to the natural light. So you're actually surrounded by green light. When you turn on your clean light, it will look magenta. So in that kind of scenarios, being able to match your light to the green coming through the window is just so useful. I tend to just kind of hold up my hand and get an edge light from the natural light and one edge light from the film light, and then just kind of dial in the colors until it's kind of matching. In night scenes, the light sources are typically artificial. You might have street lights, practicals, car, and whatnot. You're kind of much more free to set the palette here. And in those situations, I find it super useful to have RGB LEDs. One situation I often encounter is that I have a row of streetlights in maybe a greenish kind of color or an orangey kind of color, and I want that same color to be extended onto my set and onto my actors. So I will have a 900C, I will match that to the color of whatever the light has in my background, and then I will use that to extend, to wrap that color light onto my set and onto my actors. If you were to gel a conventional light to match, say, urban sodium, you actually lose a lot of output. I think urban sodium, for example, that gel will take 2 stops of your light. So having a 900C for that effect is just also a lot more power efficient. When it comes to moonlight, I don't want that dated old school blue kind of moonlight. I like the kind of moonlight that has got a bit of a green cyan to it. And for that, I find that the RGB LEDs are super useful. And with the dual ISO cameras that we have now, I do find that the power of an Evoke is really more than enough. I shot this horror film where we used Evokes for our moonlight sources, and we didn't even need to have them at 100%. And that allowed us to work off of small generators or sometimes even off of batteries. If I'm using an Evoke from moonlight source, I often find myself using the lantern that Nanlux has designed for it. Just be careful with the wind. It just creates a nice kind of softer omni-light kind of feel. Okay, this is a bit of a no-brainer, but if you have something like a music video or maybe a dream sequence and you have vivid colors, this guy is a winner. If you need to do theatrical effects or animated colors, hue shifts, anything like that. And speaking of like theatrical effects, Nanlux, they've made this projection adapter for it, which allows you to take the lens from the classic Source 4 light and pop that onto the Evoke. So suddenly you have like an RGB Source 4, which like maybe 4 times the output of a normal Source 4. And we've kind of come to expect LED lights to have a library of built-in animated effects. And the 900C has got one of those libraries. It's kind of the standard effects that you've seen in RGB lights for a while. But it's just quite useful to have them at this power, at 900 watt. That's just, for me, that's kind of next level. So I've been using the Evoke lights now for quite a while. And I've found them to be super reliable, and I've been putting them through quite a couple of trials at night shoots at minus 15 degrees Celsius. That's proper sub-zero temperatures. I've seen, electricians just clear out ice and snow from the power units at RAP, and the next day they've just been fine. So, all in all, I found it to be just super reliable. The 900C is a bit of a newer addition to the kit, but I'm finding it to be the same build quality as the 1200, and so far it's just been performing as reliably. For smaller productions, I used to always carry an M18 in the truck, but that's now been replaced by the 1200B or the 900C. So yeah, it's really become my new workhorse light. Thank you for listening. Feel free to follow me on social medias and reach out, and have fun with your RGB lighting.